So I want to talk a little bit about how the cans can be used at different parts of the process. And it doesn't matter what that process is called, whether it's a family team, whether it's a child and family team, whether it's wraparound, doesn't really matter. What matters is how do you continue to use this tool to help your family? And how do you bring that in a way that creates what you want as a family? And how do you use it to advocate for your family? And so we're going to go through the different pieces. We're going to start with looking at engagement. How do you create a crisis plan? How do you complete something? How do you circle back? How do you explore? How do you do all those processes as a part of your engagement? And so when we talk about engagement and we talk about the cans is really about the summary of what we know. And so that summary of what we know can be really powerful. For myself as a provider, I love it because I can hear, I can listen, I can really try and understand a family and their culture. And then I get this assessment tool where I can really put it down and start thinking about, did I get it right? Did I really hear that the way that the family needs and wants me to hear it? And so I can use the cans for that. As a family, this is your way of being able to say, yeah, no, like you, Sharon, I know you're really listening, but you're off base here. And so in that process of engagement, it's really going to help us understand each other better, so that I can truly be that person who knows your family as well as I can without walking in your shoes. So as I go through the engagement process, whether it's building a strengths need cultural discovery, helping create that crisis plan, whatever it is that we're doing, we want to use all those pieces and make sure we've got it right. And you are the expert on your family. There's no way I will be the expert on your family. I will work really hard to know your family, but I really want to hear you and I want to check in. Did I get it? Am I really understanding? And so that's really how I see the cans being a huge piece of that engagement. As families, I really hope that you take that time to go through the cans with your provider, whoever it is, and say, yeah, okay, you got it. This piece, yeah, we're good. That piece, no, we're off base here. Because that's going to help that process continue forward. So engagement becomes really important. It kind of sets the tone for everything else that happens. Okay, you want to switch to the next one, Barbara? Important things to remember throughout this process. So this is a list that I didn't create, I just wrote it down. The providers in Wyoming created this. Majority of them are family support partners who are graduates of wraparound themselves. So they're families that have kids with challenges. And this is what they said was really important. They said, one, make sure you meet them where they're at. You know, not every family is the same. Who are they? So let them talk, you know, really listen to the information rather than grilling them with questions. Have a conversation. It's not about having a clipboard and going boom, boom, boom. It's about how do I listen and really hear. They really like the visual. The families that we've talked to and worked with, they like to see the visual of what's happening and where things are at. Have empathy for the family situation. Even wherever you're at, whatever you've gone through yourself, you're not in their shoes. So it's hard to know exactly what they've been through. And so have some empathy and go, okay, this is where they're at. Allow the family time, engage them and respect them. Sometimes they need to take a break. Sometimes there needs to be some time and space. You know, you want to start from the very beginning in that listening and hearing what the family has to say. Be a part of the process. Get away from clinical terminology. They were big on that one. They said, really, seriously, talk to me in everyday language, could you? And that makes sense. How do we talk to them How do we express what's needed? How do we have those conversations in everyday language? What makes sense to them? And so checking in, did that make sense? Do I need to say it a different way? What would help you? And then they wanted to learn, make sure that everybody learns their strengths, and help the team recognize and utilize those strengths. So it's not enough that somebody knows their strengths, but then how do you give that back? And how do you help your team understand what those strengths are so that everybody is on board with that? Make sure you're validating everyone's viewpoint. You know, there's a lot of people in a family. It's not just a parent. It's not just one child usually. Usually there's a lot of people in a family, and everybody has their own viewpoint of what that family looks like, sounds like, and feels like. And then with permission from the family, make sure you're gathering information from other people because they might see something differently. And they might have some fabulous ideas that could really contribute to what's going to happen. Make sure that the family knows they aren't alone. Make it a safe space where they aren't going to feel like they're being judged. Having safe space to talk is really important to everybody, but particularly when you're in a high stress situation. If you go to the next slide, one of the next pieces that we wanted to talk about that they thought was important is youth voice. We have youth peer supports in Wyoming, and this is some of the pieces that they brought out. They said, you know what? Explain to the youth the reason for the cans so they don't feel like they're just getting picked on. You know, why is this thing happening? Why are we doing this assessment? How is it going to help? Why do I even care? Make sure that the youth's perspective has just as much weight as the adults. A lot of times we're in this because of the youth and what's going on for them, and they do not feel heard. They don't feel valued, and they don't feel like anybody really understands. A lot of time the kids have a hard time opening up in front of other parents, in front of their parents or other people. So make sure they have the support to get that voice across in other ways. It could be that they talk to somebody one-on-one and that person helps them voice that in a meeting. Could be they make a collage. It could be they bring some music to it. Whatever it is that makes sense to that youth.
Hey, Sharon, sorry to interrupt, but I think the Yes Youth Manual that was brought up yesterday as possibly a tool. So if the youth works with somebody else on that, works by themselves or works with somebody else, that might help to bring the youth voice to the meeting.
Yes, great tool. I looked at it and went, I want it. It's a beautiful tool. So I hope you are using it. And they also said, make sure you include breaks. You know, sitting there for an hour is way too much for a lot of kids. And then we move from engagement into the planning stage. And when you're doing some planning, you want to continue to use your cans, you know. You look at the cans, you know what the cans is, you have that initial, and then you want to say, okay, is there anything within this that we want to utilize? What's the information here that will be helpful? You as a family are your own advocate, and it might say 3 on a cans, and you might say, I know it says a 3, but this other thing is really important to me. And really, what makes sense to you? What makes sense to your family? There's nobody who knows you better than yourselves. And so check it. This is what the can says, but this is what our family and our culture needs. And then check the plan. Does that plan really fit what you want? Is it really going to help your family move forward? Okay. And then we move into implementation. So we want to really make sure that we're using the cans as a part of our implementation and as a part of making decisions. And so you went through all of this yesterday, I know, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but really use it as a tool. It's something that you can utilize to get a different viewpoint of your family that you might not be seeing, and you might just check in with it and go, okay, Let's take a look at how do we utilize what this information is. And then check yourself. Does it fit who I am and who our family is? And it might be we need to go back and take another look at the cans. Or it might be that it helps you take a look at some things. Whichever it is, it's all good.
Yeah, and just to reinforce that, yesterday's conversation is, what do we need? That's what it comes down to. Do we need help in this one?
Yep. Okay. And then we keep moving forward. So as we do this and we're looking at the cans on a regular basis, what's the progress that's being made? You heard Chastity talk about that. She utilized her cans as a way of checking in on progress. Look, we were here and here we're here. Because sometimes you have people who are saying to you, doubting you and going, you're not getting very far. You're not doing very well. And you can say, look, not only do I think it and feel it, but look, here's what this assessment tool is saying. It's a way to back up and use this tool to really back up what you think and you're saying, to be able to say, not only do I think it, not only do I feel it, but it's really saying it too. Check in on it. You know, maybe there's a piece that you haven't focused in on yet that you do want to start looking at. What's another way, another process? Maybe there's something new that you want to take a look at. Have things gotten better? Have they gotten worse? Have your strengths been maintained? Are there new things? And make sure you celebrate. Progress can be little bitty things, but it's still progress. And those little things needs to be celebrated. We all do better when we're recognized for the things that are going well. That includes families, that includes parents, that includes kids. We all do better when we celebrate all the little steps that lead to big, great big steps. Okay.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Chastity. So this is our little sum up, and we do want to leave time for comments and questions. I think throughout, when we look at the cans, looking at it for advocacy, it's not just about the caregiver domain and advocacy, it's the entirety of the cans to be able to really be very active. And I heard yesterday that there are providers who are even giving you access to your cans, which is just wrong. You have access to your child's medical records, up to a certain age, of course, and you should be able to get that without issue. So I think that's something that I think will probably be a takeaway from this conference on how to work on that as a system. But being able to look at, it's not just looking at your child's cans when it's finished. You should be able to be a part of that creation of that cans, that discussion on that cans. And I'm not hearing that part. And that's very different from the experiences I think that Sharon, Chastity, and I have in our use of the cans in Wyoming, where the cans is completed with a CFT, not separate from a CFT. So being able to advocate for yourself would require that you be part of that discussion process. So sort of in this, CFT, the child and family team, a child and family, or I think it's called family teaming in Idaho. If someone wants to put in the correct term into the Zoom chat, that would be a favor to me, thank you. But we just wanna make sure that you want to follow the system of care principles and the child and family team process to get that family voice in the cans. That has been, thank you, Janet, for the child and family team. You want to make sure that we follow those principles because that is the bedrock of accuracy in the cans, so to speak. You want to use the cans to see if everything in the plan of care is actually addressed. And as Chastity was talking about, it kind of puts it out there so you can actually look at it sort of separate from yourself and in a way that, you know, sometimes when you can separate yourself from the emotionality of an item, it helps you to look at it and consider what's really needed. So to be able to do that with a cans item, think through using the cans to prioritize, especially if your family's stuck. And I think Dr. Israel and Dr. Fernando were really good about giving some tools on how to do that. looking at those 2s and 3s for the kinds of actions that you need. And then in your strengths, looking at the 0s and 1s and how can we utilize these as well. So to prioritize what we need to do and how we're going to get there. Keep in mind the second cans may have newly identified items. Now, I understand that there's and that's one of the reasons why we asked that question on how many cans have you been through? We understand that there's some families that are going through multiple cans that are not coordinated. Again, that's not been our experience the way we've set up the use of the cans in Wyoming, where we start with one and then we build upon that. So usually it's, the build upon is where are we now? And sometimes the where we are now is that we've now identified something we didn't realize really was there before, or maybe we weren't that comfortable bringing it up, quite frankly. Maybe we weren't that confident in the team that they would accept us for where we were. So my hope is part of this takeaway is that in your self-care and advocacy, you become more comfortable being able to identify your needs so that that first CANS does have your needs accurately represented, so you get and your family gets and your child gets what is needed. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and the next one, so it's not that things got worse, but there was an identified need is the way that we look at it in the CANS world. And then the last part is to consider if there are increased needs showing up to make changes. Kids change, they develop, our situations change, relationships sometimes don't continue. So there may be increased needs, and it happens, it's not failure. And this is, again, not to judge yourself, but this is where we are, and this is what we need to work with, and this is where we're going from here. So if there are increased needs showing up, to make those changes at plan of care in the CFT process.